Oh, and there's a transcript. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it's
I'm
recording.
all right.
It says meeting transcripts are only available to select team users. That
Yeah,
must
if
be
you're,
you, right?
that might be me. I'll see whether
Maybe post it
I can
somewhere.
share it or not. Yeah. All right. I'm going to bigify my window and I'm going to share my screen,
Turn my camera off. I
which
don't
will
need my
be,
camera.
it's weird. Mhm. So am I sharing my screen? Do you
Yeah, I see
see,
Saturn. I see
you see
Saturn.
Saturn? All right. All right. I'm going to open PixInsight. Admit, Nick. Admit. Oh, look at that. And let's see. I think I'm going to start with. Is there anybody that would benefit from going through weighted batch pre-processing, just like the setup of it for like multi-night sessions?
That'd be good.
I mean, I
All
know how
right.
to do it. The one thing that might be helpful, Phil, is if you have any tricks from the keyword perspective.
Yep.
I
I'll
know
kind of.
Nick. I know
Yep.
Nick. Other Nick. What do you want to call him? First Nick.
Yep.
He has like a whole bunch of them.
All right. I'll show a little something. It's not particularly it's not really rocket science, but it's useful.
For the people that
And
don't know, it's really
yeah,
slick.
yeah. All right. So go to script. Let's see. Do I want to open a project first? Yeah, I'm going to open the project. Um, let's see. Open recent project, Bubble Nebula. And script batch, weighted batch. And oops. I'm going to open a window, or let's see, my directory. And let's see, we're going to go
Yeah, Alan
to,
put something in the chat. Normal
okay,
workflow, weighted batch preprocessing, solving, SPCC, um,
SPCC.
and
Okay,
then blur exterminator, noise exterminator, etc. Show
okay,
that.
all
Yeah, I
right.
mean, yeah. What's your normal workflow? I mean, you don't
Yeah,
have to go explain each of those things because I think
yeah,
at least some of us on the phone call are familiar, but just the order in which you do the stuff would be
yeah,
useful to cover.
yeah, we can do that. Yeah, they've got a couple or three that um I've got like a Word file that I can bring up on the screen and we can kind of show that, I think.
Phil, do you still use Graxpert?
Not really.
I was gonna say, so
Um,
for some people, it might be very helpful to learn Graxpert
yeah, we could we could do that.
because it's really easy.
Yep. All right. Um, let's see. Is there anybody that needs to be admitted? I don't think
I
so.
don't see. I'm keeping an eye for that. I don't see it.
And
Let's
I'm
see.
gonna have to take a break around 7:30 to go get the neighbor's dog over to their house.
Okay.
Okay. Is it
Dog's
live?
sitting.
Is it? Oh, I was gonna say, is it hanging out at your house?
Yeah, the dog's hanging out at our house for the day,
Oh, nice.
and then that way she didn't have to be alone all day long today, so
Right.
she can hang out with my dog.
All right. All right. If we've got enough of a quorum, I can get started.
Go for
And
it.
all right. So, um, one thing that I found useful, and I don't think a lot of people necessarily do this, is kind of pre-arranging and pre-organizing directories before you start weighted batch pre-processing. Especially, I do it all the time, but it's especially useful if you've got multiple days of data that you're trying to put in and trying to keep it all straight. Um, let's see. So one, I'll start off by saying that I try to segregate data into one hard drive. So like all my raw data, everything that I've ever recorded or am saving for as raw input files, that's in one drive, and it's physically not even on the same drive that I'm processing from, or my projects. Projects are separate from data, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, so this this is a projects directory, and so let's see. So if I go up a ways, let's see, let me go up to the top. All right, so imaging projects is on the E drive, and then I have all my different imaging rigs and configurations kind of all organized by type. And so then if I go to the 80 millimeter and with a reducer, and then I've got it by, these are different projects, like working projects. If I go to SHO, and if I go to this example for Beveled Nebula that I copied over, all right, so I've got an input file that has data from two different nights, and I've got the darks files that are common to both. And then I made a output directory, which currently has virtually nothing in it. So I haven't run weighted batch preprocessing in this yet. This is kind of my example for you. So the thing that is, let's see, then if I go to input, so all right, so this is darks. It's just darks files. This is one particular night's data, and the thing that's important is that it starts with the name data. It doesn't, it could be named anything, but I'm using data underscore and then the date and then the location. It could be literally anything. Anything after data, data is going to be the keyword that we're going to use. So it's important that that the folder starts with this, and then anything after this is basically just a variable. It could be a, it could be a underscore b, and it's going to organize everything by a, and it's going to, I don't know, we'll see when it gets started. But so in any case, this is one night's data, and I've got all the lights files. And another thing I do is um, I blink all the files first, so I know that they're clean or relatively clean. And then we've got H files and O files. Can you see these well enough?
I think so.
All right. Um, so these are all cleaned up and ready to go, and there's nothing in this folder that I don't want merged. If you blinked some and you threw some of them away and put them in a directory like to be thrown out, make sure that you delete the content in that, because otherwise when it merges, it's going to merge everything. So the way I'm doing it, it's going to merge everything. So make sure that all the lights files are the lights files you want to use. And then let's see, go up a little bit more. And I've got the flats files. They're all in there. I've got different length files from the flats and darks. So these are the dark flats, for calibration. Then they match again. I've got 1.2 seconds and 3.5 seconds, and that's all it needs. So that's basically it. So, and I've got the same thing going on in this folder from a different night. So now, because everything's all been organized into this master folder, if I, let's see, I'm just going to make this a little smaller. Oops. Oh, come on. Smaller. Ah, what the hell? Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
What are you trying to do?
Oh, there you go. So now, um, if I've got weighted batch preprocessing set up, I need to make sure it has an output directory. And I have made keyword data, and it's going to pre-sort on that. So when I put all these files in, it's going to look for anything behind data and use that to sort by. And so now I'm just going to click this directory button in the lower left-hand corner, and I can go to this input file. And so let's see, that's all right. So the input file is selected. So I select the folder, and it's going to start thinking, and it's going to put literally everything that's in that input folder into weighted batch preprocessing. All right, so it's started parsing. You can see the processing going on. This won't take too long. It'll take a couple, maybe a minute or something. There's a lot of files in here, but you'll see what happens if you've pre-sorted it, you don't have to worry about putting them into individual files or anything.
Let me just add something while it's running, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is for people that are using FITS files, this process will run in, let's say, 10 minutes max or 15. For people that are using DSLR files, it can take longer, 40 minutes, hour to run through the entire weighted batch preprocessing script with these bigger files. I've had instances where it's taken an hour and a half to run it. But with FITS files, it should be a lot faster.
Yep. And it depends entirely on your computer too. I've got an older
Yeah.
processor, so
Yeah, this is with my new computer. It's really fast.
yep.
Looks like we're still missing Carter and
Okay.
Ian.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, and then once all these populate, then I can show you just a couple other things in weighted batch preprocessing. We won't run it, but we can get it configured. And I did run it this afternoon. And has anybody who all is set up? Oh, here we go. Admit. Oh, Alan.
Oh,
I'll
I
admit
got him.
Alan. Yep. Here we go. All right. So it found 313 files and added them, and it tells you what all the files were. Usually I don't care. And it's populated all the light files and all the flat files and all the dark files. And not only that, but if you go to calibration, oh, let's see. Okay, if we go to lights, you can see that it's sorted by that data parameter. So all of the lights from one night are here. And oops, all the lights from another night here and another night here. And so when it comes to calibrate, it is, let's see, why do we have two O's? Oh, maybe I missed something. But by and large, that sorts everything out. So everything is all good to go. If you use cosmetic correction, there's now an auto cosmetic correction. You can use that, but there are some advantages to using your own. If you've made a cosmetic correction file and you have it on the desktop, I've got one for mono over here and a one-shot color over here that just are always on my desktop.
What's the advantage, Phil?
It
Because I've always used the one here. It's been
Yeah.
years since I've used the one on my computer.
There are some advantages to using the old manual one. I don't remember exactly what the difference is anymore. I know Adam Block had a description of what the differences are, and it seemed like there were enough advantages to using the way I used to do it and not doing auto. So I usually do that. So if I were to change that, I would just change cosmetic correction to non-manual, and then I need to select the template. So let's see, this is mono data, so I'd select the mono, and then that only changes just one at a time. So if you want to do that to all of these, then you apply it to all the groups, and so now it says mono in all of them. The output pedestal I usually set on auto. You can see all the check boxes are there, so that's pretty much all good to go. I'm trying to figure out, let's see, still don't know why there's two oxygens.
Nick is saying something in the chat, Phil. He's
Oh,
saying,
that was in the calibration. That was in calibration. If I go to post calibration, there's only one. That's why. All right, so when it gets to post calibration, then it's merged the O3 into a single file, which is correct. That's what I wanted to do. This is also where you would select drizzle if you wanted to do that. It will add a whole lot of processing time, but if you have undersampled data, it's probably worth doing. I routinely do. So I would typically, let's see, I'd select, I'd click enable for drizzle, and I do scale of 2, so it's going to basically double the number of pixels in the file. So if I had, 3,000 by 3,000 pixels, it's now going to be 6,000 by 6,000 pixels. The other
that's
thing
going to
is
make the file size a lot bigger, right?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. But it'll also smooth out a lot of stuff. It'll reduce the pixelization. The other thing
It should quadruple the number of pixels.
Yes, correct. Yes, it'll double the size in each direction, and it'll quadruple the number of pixels.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's
your
correct.
files get 4x larger as well.
Yep. And then not unlike setting up the changing a setting in cosmetic correction, if you change the drizzle on one file, you want to change it to all of them. So apply it to all groups. So now it's doing it to all those groups. And make sure that you set your output directory. And in my case, I have already made an output file in that same directory. So there's an input file and an output file, and I just map all the files that it creates to go to output. And I also have like a saves folder. So like as I save like an intermediate workflow or something, or if I want to save an individual file or something, or if I want to save out the JPEG or something like that, those typically go into the saves folder. That's how I do it. So, so that's basically that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. This is the pipeline. So this is all the processes it's going to do. And I don't think there's anything.
Phil,
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see something. So by the little exit button on the WBPP dialog box, scroll the box open more. I want to see where your keyword is. You know what I mean? So like open the box a little more because there's like
In here.
no. So go down by the right by the exit button. There's that little darkened gray corner. Pull on that. No. Down.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Open that more. Scroll that whole thing over to the right. Okay. I just wanted to see why you were getting two O's, and I don't see quite off the top of my head. Anyway, sorry. That's all.
That was in calibration.
Where's the two O's?
Oh, it was.
Oh, right there. I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I just wanted to see why those were getting separated from each other, and I thought maybe your keyword had something to do with it.
It does have something to do with it. So
the dates are different.
Yes, the dates are different. So
yeah.
So this is oxygen from one
together,
day.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So exactly. So yes, all the H is from one day, and I've got oxygen from 2 days, and I've got sulfur from 1 day, and then when I get to post calibration, it's all merged into just one oxygen. Yep. So we're good there.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yep. Yep. Thanks for clarifying that. And so yeah, basically this is ready to run. If I wanted to check diagnostics, it's going to tell me how much space it's going to use. Unfortunately, I can't tell you how long it's going to take to do, but at least it's not a bad idea to double check this and just make sure that you've got enough disk space to be able to run it. If you keep things clean and you're not pushing the complete limit of what your computer can do, this shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, this is basically good to go. So if I was good to go, I'd click run and it would just go off and do its thing for however long it's going to take to do that.
So I have never done it like this per se, where you're using data. So what I missed in the beginning, Phil, is you were loading all the calibration files automatically, not manually.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before. And you do that using data as your keyword?
Yeah, so everything in one session. Well, you can use whatever keyword you want. I use the word data. You could use the word session. You could use the word.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, whatever.
But what's the advantage of doing like that instead of just putting it in manually? That's what I've been doing, because I have my library calibration files elsewhere. And in order for you to get this to work, you'd need to move those calibration files into the data repository folder system every time.
Yep, that's yep.
So you're using up more of your drive by doing that each time.
Yeah, but I only do it temporarily. Once I'm done, I clear it all out.
I can delete it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a easy way of kind of getting all the files hierarchical so that weighted batch preprocessing just can sort everything out obviously very easily. I didn't have to touch anything or load any individual files. They all just go in. So I like it that way. And then when it's done, then yeah, I just clear everything out. I literally delete all of the input files and I delete all the output files except for the registered files that I actually care about. And I'm
especially if you're like you're putting drizzle on this. I mean, you're multiplying the files. These folders are gonna be gigantic.
Oh
right?
yeah, they'll be big. Oh yeah, very big. Yep, very big.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So I think we've kind of beaten that one to death. So I'm gonna if everybody's done with that, I'm going to close this and not save. Hearing no objection. There it goes. All right, so I'm going to make a little cheater window so I can see what's going on in the chat off on the side. Maybe I can't. Yeah, I can't. That's all right. All right, so
I'll keep an eye on the chat for you, Phil.
yeah, no worries. Fortunately, it does kind of give me a little beep if somebody asks to be admitted. So as long as somebody isn't talking over the beep, I think I should be good. All right, so we covered way to be batch pre-processing and that. Oh, let's see. Has anybody installed or not installed the new PixInsight stuff? I know Suresh was
I
doing it last
have.
night.
I have, and now
And
I'm
you're up
regretting
and
doing
running.
it. I am up and running, but if you go on the PixInsight Facebook pages, people are having issues.
Yep.
The star calibration isn't working. Is one. I haven't tried this yet, but that's what people are saying is that star
So
alignment is not working.
yeah, I've played around. Yeah, there's a couple things in star alignment. It's not so much that it isn't working, but some of the icons are not refreshing right. And oh, here we go.
I got Carter.
Carter. All right.
Hey, Carter.
Hey,
Hey, man.
Howdy.
Go ahead, Nate. Phil, what were you saying?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, there's some kind of goofy things about star alignment that aren't refreshing exactly right. It does work. It's not like the process is broken per se, but the user interface is kind of has a bug in it that I'm sure they'll address in the next day or two. There have been a whole lot of people that have had troubles with old computers that are not supported now.
Yeah.
I don't know if the old timers that have been using PixInsight for a while, I don't know if you remember maybe a year ago, maybe now, they had an update that basically was similar, and then they rolled it back because they got so much pushback on it. And it was basically the same thing. They were trying to implement some processes that they wanted to use AVX2 to do some of the processing heavy lifting, and so they required it, and it basically breaks PixInsight for anybody that has a processor that doesn't have those features.
Lovely.
And that lasted a couple weeks, and then I think by the end of that they got enough flack that that they rolled it back and said, all right, well, we'll wait until this release to do it. So the time has come. So now either you need to have a computer that's 2015 or 16 or so, I think is kind of the vintage that is kind of the cutoff. It kind of depends, but
or a Mac.
or a
because
Mac. Yeah, Macs
doesn't need it.
are not affected.
But there's another set of issues with the Macs that they're saying on Facebook.
Yeah.
Hey, people here, how many people have updated to the new PixInsight?
I have.
I did.
So
Yes, I have.
I have.
All right.
Nick has.
I've not.
Bala has
Not yet.
not.
I am
Carter,
on a Mac.
Carter, do
Yep,
you
Mac.
have your own PixInsight now, or are you still on the temporary one?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
My trial ended like a week ago.
Yeah.
I actually processed all the data that I've gotten so far, so I'll probably wait till spring to buy the full thing.
All right.
But definitely looking to learn. So
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. All right. So yeah, I guess my experience so far is that read all the release notes, and I guess be advised that that if you have a very old, or not very old, but an older computer, that you want to double check and make sure that it's good before you update. If you've got a new computer, don't even think about it. If you can run Windows 11 or something like that, don't worry about it. The other thing is, I think they do minimal testing in Windows 10, but I don't think it's really a supported operating system for them anymore. So kind of like the rest of the world, Windows 11, if you're in a Windows environment, you really probably should switch over to Windows 11. It's not going to be supported at the end of the year or something like that anyway. Um, so yeah, there's that as well.
I'm reading one thing here where he added GPU acceleration and it didn't work.
Mm.
You got this really long error message.
Well, was it set up? Well, I
I'll
guess
put it in the
I'm
chat.
not gonna. Yeah, I won't troubleshoot his issues online, but I know GPU acceleration was working fine for me prior to the install, and I saved my TensorFlow.dll file outside of PixInsight because it gets overwritten, and it's just kind of a thing. And I ran the installation, everything ran fine. I put the DLL, the TensorFlow.dll file back where it belongs and ran updates, and I've had virtually no problems. So, um, if you keep your directories organized, so you're not overwriting. Let's see. There's a handful of things that people often get messed up in the update process. One is that if you're using SPCC, all those files are needed, obviously, and you want to have them saved to a local hard drive, but you don't want it nested inside PixInsight, because if it is, then when they update, then those files can get deleted or lost or disconnected. So, if you have a directory, somewhere on your computer where SPCC files are at, and I guess now the Mars files, which are, part of the new uh, multi-scale gradient correction package, those files need to go someplace. Make sure you put them someplace on your hard drive that is not literally inside PixInsight, not inside the PixInsight folder. And then you just map to it, and it works fine, and will continue to work fine as they update stuff. So,
I put in the chat the latest issues people were having. People could take a look if they want. That's where the
sure.
guy mentions about the star misalignment and the issues the guy's having with the Mac.
Okay. Yeah. And frankly, there's always stuff, but I haven't found anything. I haven't found anything that has like seriously blown up yet. I did set up that weighted batch preprocessing and ran it this week or this afternoon, and it worked fine. It made files. I tried running the new gradient correction on those files, and that worked fine. We could do that. I could show you how to do that.
Cool.
Let's see. So let's see, where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go.
You want to just run through your process and how you Alan's question?
Oh yeah. Why don't we do that first? All right. So let's see. Let's try LRGB first. All right. So I keep these little cheat sheets. I've got one for. I try to keep them as generic as possible. So I try not to make like say a processing notes for LRGB galaxies versus LRGB nebula, I don't try and split it up like that, although you could. So these are just kind of generic notes, if you will, on what my processes are to do that. And then I also saved some little general PixInsight tricks that I have occasionally had trouble remembering. So um, some of those are kind of useful. So yeah, I just kind of put things. I try and keep some dates so I remember when I last updated stuff and what I updated based on. So where I got some information sometimes. Let's say start with weighted batch preprocessing to make the masters. And I usually try and keep these descriptions, not not like infinite detail, but more like just some steps and some basic, a couple word notes, or a short sentence note on the side to kind of explain what the process is. So start with weighted batch preprocessing, um, then channel combination, then gradient correction, and there's now a whole lot of different ways you can do that. So the brand new one that just came out is multi-scale gradient correction. So that's MGC. Automatic DBE is my second favorite one. We can go through that if you want at some point. Gradient correction is one that came out in the last iteration of PixInsight before this one. Uh, Gradient exterminator is popular. You could use that, or DBE if you like to do things manually. And then the intent is to flatten the gradients in the RGB file. Then run SPCC, which is so usually I just have the abbreviations on the left and then kind of spell it out on the right, or some details. So spectrophotometric color calibration to color calibrate the RGB files. And then if you're doing LRGB, then you could create a superluminance that is stealing the luminance out of the RGB file and adding that to the LRGB file that you um, shot, with a separate filter. So you're basically trying to gather as much LRGB signal as you can.
So you're adding that to the L as well?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you're doubling the L essentially.
Yep. You're doubling the L. Yep. Yep. And frankly, I haven't been doing a whole lot of LRGB processing recently, so I'm not sure I can explain in all the detail how to go about doing that, but it was an interesting idea. Excuse me, kind of an interesting idea, and I don't think it's particularly complicated in practice. So
Because there's an
uh,
icon on the upper left in PixInsight that'll snag it'll create a synthetic luminance.
correct,
Is that the same
correct.
thing?
That's the same thing. So
Oh, yeah, you
yeah,
just hit that button, it'll do that.
correct. So you'd create the luminance from the RGB and you use that as a file, and then you also have the luminance that you shot separately if you had an L filter,
Mhm.
and then you could combine those and create a super luminance if you feel like doing that. And then let's see, and then if your files are different size, you need to crop your superluminance and your RGB so that they're the same. And let's see, then you need to flatten the gradients and the luminance or superluminance.
The one thing I,
You,
I should probably mention, Phil, is if you're gonna do a dynamic crop this early,
yep,
there's certain things in PixInsight, for example, annotation. The annotation script will not run once you change the parameters that are set there. It's similar.
right,
It's that whole issue with um, if you change the outer crop file dimensions,
correct.
some of the functionality goes away.
Yep, you'd have to resolve the
Yeah, you
newly
have to
cropped.
resolve it.
Yep, correct. Yep. Um, could run SCNR on it if you want. Blur Exterminator would probably come next. And then talk about how to process the luminance and how to process the RGB. And
There's one other
then,
thing though about your dynamic crop though.
yep,
If you have gradients that are really bad,
yep,
you should do that before you use your gradient correction up on top, because
yeah.
otherwise that factors into the calculation and how those work.
Uh,
The grid pattern. It's an old Chris Setness used to say this all the time, where if you have issues that you don't crop out, they will
oh,
factor in
oh, yes, yes,
to the solving of the
yeah,
gradient problem.
yep.
Do you guys understand what I
Um,
mean? That's actually an important thing. Do you guys understand, or should I restate?
If you don't crop out the gradients, they factor into the SPCC.
If you don't crop out, yeah. So if you, at the beginning, as you run through Phil's process here, if you start, and I do this as well, I start with the gradient correction. But if you have bad gradients there, say on the edges, you should crop those out first, because that will factor into how the gradients get corrected overall.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. I could back up another half step, I guess, and say that if you, let's see, who's needs to be admitted now.
I got it. It's
You got
Bala.
it? Oh, very good. All right. Um,
Bala's back.
all right. You can choose or not to choose in weighted batch pre-processing to have it auto crop or not. I know it takes time to allow it to do it, but on the other hand, it has all the information to be able to know what the commonalities between all of the files are that it's stacking. So I normally let it do that. So my masters all come out all pre-cropped, so they're all identical and they've all been place solved. So um, so I should, in my case, I'm able to run gradients without exception because I know the black around the edges has already been taken out. There isn't any. But you know, if you don't allow it to do the auto crop, then yes, you should kind of do some cleanup and make all your files the same dimensions and you know all that business first too. So, but
That's
that's a good
interesting you
point.
say that. I mean, the auto crop definitely helps, right?
Oh
But there's
yeah.
still instances where you get issues. I see this more in my DSLR fill, really. So we're
Okay.
talking about like on the edges where you've got optical flaws and maybe your
Oh,
flats aren't perfect and these kind of things,
oh,
where
all right.
you can still get some creep in from a bad effects.
Oh,
And
all
if you
right.
leave them in
Yeah.
and you run one of these gradient corrections, it will factor into the solution.
No, yeah, yeah, but that makes sense. That makes sense.
I got a quick question with
Yep.
the auto crop.
Yep.
So for one shot color, it doesn't really matter. The auto crop is what it is. But if you're shooting mono with multiple filters, is it gonna screw up the different files? Is one gonna be cropped more than the other, and is that gonna
No,
be an
no,
issue?
they'll be identical.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Sure, man.
Let's see.
As like Phil, I always use auto crop. I mean, if you
Yeah.
don't want to, the solution gives you other options. Like it'll give you, in addition to the auto crop, the weighted batch process will give you what 2 or 3 other files. So you can,
Yeah.
if you wanted to use other files, you can. It's just the auto crop is, as Phil said, the best option in most cases.
It is the lowest common denominator for the files that you've given it. So, I mean, it's a mathematically correct crop solution.
But
And then
there
if
are
you want to,
situations.
and then if you want to take it down more than that, you can certainly do that. Right.
I am seeing in some of my larger targets that I'm shooting, where the auto crop will crop out stuff that I wanted to be in there. Part of the field that I wanted to be in there because part of the object was there. So
Yeah.
you have to watch out for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I saw a video recently where a guy was intentionally processing two different two different telescopes. They're like, you know, wildly different and he actually chose a framing from one of the data sets that was it was framed better, but he didn't have data for in all the telescopes that covered all of that. So there were corners that were underrepresented, but he had some interesting tricks. That was like way beyond my pay grade,
I'd be curious to see
but
how
I
he
could,
merged all those calibration files with that too, right?
yeah. I could find it for you if anybody's interested.
What
Hi.
was that, Bala?
Nothing. Something else is happening in my computer. It's been acting cranky.
Okay.
Okay.
Files are running and it's trying to reinstall our Teams. You go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Let's see. And so I've got basic processing for the luminance and then for the RGB. And if anybody wants any of these, I can share these you know, at some point. And then I've got a couple different options for how to combine the LRGB. Option one is to insert the nonlinear linear file into the L and the nonlinear RGB, and then apply it to the nonlinear RGB like a drag and drop. And then another option is to use image blend. And I describe one thing that I try to do is be careful about when I'm changing from linear files to nonlinear files, or stretch files, permanently stretch files, that I try to be explicit in my notes so that I don't have troubles with it the process blows up because it's it's trying to use the wrong data type or something. So um and so then yeah, basically at the end of this step I've got the LRGB file, and then at this point I'd run noise exterminator on it, and then curves, transformations, and then I typically use star exterminator and pull the stars out and process the background, whatever that is. I can start tweaking the colors a little bit more without making the star colors crazy, or change contrast in those. And then at the end, you put them all back together with a recombination.
And you use screen stars for that?
Yeah, actually, we could go through some of these tools now, I suppose, at this point. So
Let me ask you one
what are
question,
we?
Phil, before you do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, sure.
So on Star Exterminator, you and I have talked, and you use this process for almost all of your projects, right?
Virtually always. Yeah, virtually
So
always.
so I tend to only use it for nebulae,
Okay.
because what I'm finding is with galaxies and clusters, you really don't have to. Well, cluster for sure, you don't have to. You don't have to separate them out,
Yeah.
because they're clusters.
Well, right.
But but even for galaxies, I find it's less. The issue is this, guys. In Star Exterminator, at least for me, when you mess with the stars version and then mess with the starless version, you could get them exactly how you want to put them. But when you merge them, they don't always look like that. There's a little bit of hangover in each file that could mess up your beautifully edited version. So Star Exterminator to me is good, but you have to be careful about that. For Nebula, definitely. Like you could, work with the Nebula and all that. But when you merge that with the Stars version, even with Nebula, you'll find out that the colors that you thought you had, the texture that you thought you had, may not end up in the merged version. I don't know,
Yep.
Phil, if you've wanted to
Yep.
add to that, or
I can add to that. So the advantage of taking the stars out is you can be really aggressive with your processes, and that the stars aren't going to impact it, like ringing effects um, in some processes will do just absolutely apeshit things to your stars. And so if you can pull them out, then you can kind of aggressively work on whatever it is that you've got. You can pull gradients out from around a nebula or around a galaxy, in a much simpler way. You can do color correction much better. You can do a lot of noise reduction better. So I just do it as a matter of course. And I agree there's a lot of hit and miss if you do star combinations that are blind. And it used to be that kind of everybody was doing that. You'd use pixel math and you could literally just rescreen stars and you're just taking file A and file B and you're merging them together with math. But you don't see what's going on. There are some new tools now that make it a not blind task, and I really prefer those. And I can show you some of those. I probably need to get some actual files on the screen though first before that
And
makes a
that's the
lot
way
of
I do
sense.
it. I've been using PixInsight to merge them, but you say screen stars is better for that?
Well, there's a couple. So let's see. This is kind of my usual hit list of potential scripts and processes. Many of these I don't use, and this is a completely generic set. You could, if you wanted to, make a subset of this and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do for monochrome, and this is what I'm going to do for nebula or planets, or well, not planets probably, but you know what I mean. I mean, you could customize it. This is a very broad palette. So I kind of started at the top. And some of these, frankly, I hardly ever even use from these locations, but they're kind of a prompt, if you will. It's like, oh yeah, I've got that process, maybe I want to use that. And it kind of more or less flows by either what the process is or the category of what it is, and to some extent it's kind of start at the top and work towards the bottom, but that's probably
Yeah, I think
it,
Nick
it's
J-
it's
Nick
it's kind of more or less true, but it's not entirely true. You
I think Nick
you have to bounce
Hartman
around a little bit.
Nick Hartman has different icon pages for different things, right, Nick?
I have a PixInsight session I start up for when I'm doing solar image processing, and then I have another one for like my refractor, and then I have another one for my 10-inch. So I
Okay.
kind of have separate workflows for each. Well, they're all very similar. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
one's
They're just tweaked.
monochrome, one's color.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you can
I
certainly
don't
do that.
overlap them within the same session like you have here. I kind of just keep them separate. Just
Yep.
helps
Yep.
my mind deal with it. It's
Yep.
maddening enough. So
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. So yeah, and one thing that is handy about saving them out is that when you do, you can you can tweak what some of the settings are in them and then save them with a name that you like or an abbreviation that you like. And so like for example, kind of down in the middle here is um,
Noise exterminator.
noise exterminator. So NXT is the generic version with kind of default settings. The next one is kind of an aggressive setting with 80% reduction and 15% on detail, I think. And this other one is 70 and 15, so it's a little less aggressive. So I these are already preset. So, if I have something up on screen and say, oh, well, that's really noisy, I want to hit it pretty hard, I can drag the 80 on it. If it doesn't really need as much, I can drop the 70 on it. And I don't even have to think about it.
Hey
That's
Phil,
not,
can you open
yep,
an icon just so people can see how you
yeah,
edit them, just in case they don't know?
yep. So, all right, so I double clicked. For some reason, it popped up in the other window, but all right, so it popped up. So this is the one that I saved as 8015. And um, so the settings are already preset. And if I wanted to make a new instance of this, and here, why don't we'll make one that's unique. We're gonna change this to 90 and 10, just to say that we can. And so if we've got new settings, and we're going to take the triangle and you just pick it up and you drop it on your desktop, and then you right click on it and you change the icon identifier, which is basically the name, and I could now call it whatever I want. I can call it that, or whatever characters I want. So I would call it NXT underscore 90 underscore 10 and OK. And so now it's named that, and now I could plop that in here. I could shoehorn it in, or I could do whatever I want. But that's basically the operation for making these. Now, noise exterminator is a process, so it always behaves the same way, and always it's just easier. The ones that are scripts, um, they don't necessarily launch the same. So like if I let's see which one do I want to use? Color mask. All right, so if I double click on color mask, that's a script and not a process. And because I just double clicked on it and didn't do anything fancy with it, it doesn't open with the correct user interface. So these are the actual variables that are being set by it, but there's a user interface that looks better than that. So I'm going to close that. If I right click on it, I can try. Sometimes you can execute in a global context. Sometimes that works. It depends on how it's written and what it needs. That doesn't work here. I think launch script instance is the same as it was before, so that doesn't do me any good. I think in this case, I think it actually needs to have a file for it to operate on. And so let's see. Um, let's see. Let me see if I can find, let's see, output files. Hopefully this. All right. So, all right, this is the crop window. These are just master files that actually were created by that weighted batch preprocessing thing that we went through before. So this is just the window that got cropped out. So this is how much that actually, this is the edges of what actually got taken out. I don't really care. This is what it actually created for H. So, so that's one file. I'm going to delete that one, and I can delete that one. And there we go. And delete that one. All right. The first thing I do is I go to on the side, and I click on or right click on the side and change the identifier right away. So I just rename it. So this is an S master, so I'm just going to call it S. Let's see. And I also put on cap lock and almost always work with uppercase, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, so that's my S file, and I'm going to minimize that up and start it up there. And then this one is, what is this? Oh, this is S also. I accidentally opened it twice. Delete that. All right, this one is O. So right click, identifier, O, save, minimize, up it goes, and H, identifier, H, okay, minimize, and up. So this is kind of my starting point, and if I wanted to start processing, I basically these I always save at the top, and oftentimes as I do steps on each of these files, I I do a save as essentially and just kind of keep a running list of things going on. All right, let's see. Um, let's see if we can run. What was it that we were? Oh, color. What was it? Selective color correction. Um, yeah. Now that we have some files, I think it'll allow. Let's see. No, it doesn't allow it. All right. So selective color correction, you might have to actually pick out of the menus now. So you'd have to go to script and find where color correction is. Selective color correction is there. There was an earlier question. Oh, putting stars back? Yeah, previews of stars.
Oh, you're talking about with screen stars or
Yeah, screen stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. I digress. Sorry. So let's see. Ooh, let's do H. All right. So oh, except these aren't color.
That would help, right?
That would help. You know what? I'm gonna switch to a different project. I think we've gotten everything going to out of this one.
Can I ask you one question before you switch over?
Yeah.
There was one question, overarching question that I had for you. Well, can you put up your process flow again?
Oh yeah.
Hey,
So-
meanwhile, I'm Suresh. I've been having some problems. I cannot see anything right now, so I'm going to log off. Try to relog in.
Okay.
Not able
Maybe
to-
do it on your phone, Bala, or
Okay.
tablet. Do you have a tablet?
Yeah, maybe I'll try that. Okay.
Maybe that'd be better for you.
Okay.
So Phil and I have talked, and one thing, and maybe I misheard it, Phil, but I thought I heard you say that you run this process individually for each filter.
Oh, it well, it depends. So,
'Cause I never do that. I always do it as a group.
well, it depends. I think if you let's see.
Does anybody
You
else
could
do that?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean-
So you could merge all of your LRGB files and make an RGB file or a LRGB file, and then do blur exterminator and noise exterminator and color calibration and all of that individually, and gradient removal, all of that stuff on a color image. You can do that.
Mhm.
And then each of those processes is going to have to work on each of those channels kind of within that program. So if you run gradient correction, if you run DBE on a color image, it's going to go through the color channels and it's going to remove the gradient from green, it's going to remove the gradient from red, etc. Or you can run the gradient correction on the individual channels and then merge them later. I don't think it materially matters either way.
Because if you do it on each filter, that's going to multiply the length of time it takes for you to process this.
It's
like
true.
3
Yeah.
or 4 times longer.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Because you said you do that often, right?
I do it. Um, I do. Let's see. I do it often on narrowband processing because the gradients are different in each channel, and the let's see, and Blur Exterminator is going to probably process on each of them a little bit differently. So I usually process each of those channels individually and do kind of that kind of core cleanup, gradient, blur, maybe noise. I guess maybe that's about it. First on each of those channels, and then after they're relatively well cleaned up, then it goes into a process to color map them somehow to make an SHO image, or whatever your flavor you want to run. Can you let him back in? Yeah.
He's back.
All right.
Hey, Bala.
So, did it help you out at all?
Yep.
All right.
I install a new version. Thank you.
So I go back to my original question I said about 20 minutes ago, where if the end goal is to get the colors right and the gradients right on the final product,
Yeah.
if you do them on the individual filters and then merge them back together, you run the risk of overlap on some of the stuff. And so the grouped, if you want to call it that, or the merged file
Mm-hmm.
may have defects that are overcompensated in the individual filters. When you put them back together, it doesn't look like what you thought you were going to have. Have you ever run into that? Because it sounds like you're not doing it. You're not doing it necessarily on color. You're doing it just on the gradient and blur exterminator and noise exterminators. I just don't know if does anybody else do that? Like, I'm just curious. I mean, Nick, do you do that? Because that's a big deal. If that's really something that makes it better, then I should start doing that. I just have not seen that anywhere where people will do that on each filter. You say you got that from Adam Block, right?
I don't know. I get stuff from all over the place, so I'm not sure where I got that notion. There are certain processes that need linear data. And some processes you want to do right away, like Blur Exterminator, you want to do virtually right away.
Mm-hmm.
Only, maybe gradient removal first. I guess I've always thought I had more control over those primary defects. The blur and gradient, I think they seem like they are different per channel. So I've often, since I often start with individual channels anyway, I usually run them on each of those channels and get them cleaned up first, and then merge relatively quickly, and then kind of go from there. But I suppose you could do it earlier. You could start working with color right away.
Yeah, interesting.
I've tried doing it both ways, and I just use whichever one ends up looking better, because sometimes one is better than the other. When you're using multiple filters, you can get complex gradients, versus like a one-shot color camera. The gradient will be more simple, so you might have better luck, doing it all in one shot, or not. I guess you just have to do it both ways and use what works.
Good to know.
Especially,
I was just about to say that too. Actually, feel like the way to solve this would just be to do it right. Do one with all combined and then one separately, and just see which one you like better to the eye
Yeah.
test, right? That
Yeah,
would be the
exactly. Yep. Yep. All right. So, yeah, I'm not
Thanks,
sure there's
guys.
a right or yeah, I'm not sure there's a right or wrong. I'm gonna load a different project just to have kind of more data to play with. So I can either, let's see, I'll do Crab Nebula. It's kind of complicated, but there's kind of a lot there, so it's more to see and play with. So let's see, open recent project files, M1 project, that one. Yes. So this one was kind of complicated. It's it's multiple one-shot color runs. So I've got data from a dual band hydrogen and sulfur filter and a hydrogen and oxygen filter. And I also shot just straight up RGB for stars. And I shot it over multiple nights from Oklahoma. And so I've got, the potential of splitting out the hydrogen and completely separating that, the oxygen completely separating that, sulfur completely separating that, and then recombining it any way I want. Plus I've got RGB, so I can add RGB over the top of that, and I can use RGB stars. And that's basically what's going on. So start off with a master that this top one is sulfur and oxygen, 300-second exposures, hydrogen and oxygen, 300-second exposures. Can you see those?
Mhm.
And then there's a cool little script that a guy made called dual band extract, which is just the bomb. You just tell it those two file names, and then it will do all the math to pull each of those colors out and make a separate SHO filter or SHO file out of them. It's pretty damn cool. So let's see. Let's see. And it's a script, so they often try and execute in global. Yeah, there we go. So you have to tell it what your camera is, and you tell it which the hydrogen and oxygen file is and which the sulfur and oxygen file is, SO300, and say extract, and it will crunchy crunch and do a whole bunch of stuff that you can do manually, and I did do manually and did with, some pixel math expressions that people had made, but this is just slick. It's just opening files and doing the math and closing the files when it's done. You can see it crunching away on all those, right?
Yeah.
All right. So it's done. And I hit close, and I've got an O3 and an S2 and an HA. And bam, bam, bam. And then I don't like file names any more complicated than basic, so I would rename that as O. So that's O. Name that as S, and it's S. And name that as H, and it's H. And then after that, I ran AutoDBE because that was kind of my favorite tool for doing extraction on them. Then I ran Blur Exterminator, and I did Noise Exterminator on them. I'm just going to throw those all away because I already have them. But I just did that just so you could see how it ran. And then So yeah, so now I've got, some clean files. And then after that, I made an HOO file, and I made an S file and colorized it. And I'm gonna pull up my next cheat sheet, which is, let's see, HOO. So Adam Block came out with a YouTube video, what, a couple months ago now, maybe, where he had a process where he would make an HOO file, so you'd get this really kind of red and teal color file that everybody can do from their usual dual band filter. And then if you had a real true S file, you would process that and colorize it. So um, you basically just clean up the file, and then you run it through Color Mapper, which assigns whatever hue and saturation you want to that monochrome data. It's essentially monochrome data. And then you screen or image blend those two files together. So you can add the sulfur back in a blend kind of on top, and it's really kind of fun. I recommend it. Um, so uh, so you get down to this, which is the HOO, and you get down to this, which is the sulfur that's been mapped to be kind of this kind of golden, kind of bright golden color. And then you use image blend. Oops, not image blend like that. Click, right click. No, it doesn't like global context either. Some of these things, honestly, sometimes you can get at them from the icon, and sometimes they're really more useful to just use as an identifier, just so you kind of know that it exists. Script. Let's see. What was that called? Image blend. Is it utilities? Image blend. So you identify what the base layer is. You give the base layer a name, and you give the second image a file name, and then you tell it what kind of blending mode you want to use, and you can use some filters to tweak the curves individually on each of the files, and it shows you a preview of what you're actually doing. It's kind of fun. And then when you're done, you just click apply, and it will create a new file that has merged those two things. So
This is a good process to learn
yeah,
because I don't know another way that you would merge HOO and S.
right. And I highly recommend, if this is something that interests you, consider this just kind of a teaser, just to kind of say, oh yeah, this exists, go check out somebody that actually can explain it and can show you the whole process.
Bill, do
I'm
you have
not a
a
teacher.
video? I was gonna say, do you have a video for this one?
I could certainly find it. It's I mean, if you search YouTube for Atom Block, um you'll probably find it. It's one of his more recent videos. He hasn't had anything new in a while, so it's going to probably come up pretty close to on top.
Thanks.
But I'll put in the chat. I'll find the correct address and just send it out. So I'm not gonna like pretend to do this live or anything, but it's uh, I can at least kind of show you kind of the workflow. So yeah, basically I started off with the with the dual band filters here, broke them out into individual files, recombined them back into HOO the way I wanted them, and stretched them, and did all my curves transformations and things in these to get them right. And then at some point, oh, let's say looks like I added a red mask because I wanted to kind of tweak that a little bit. So then I got down to let's see, it looks like an SHO image here, and then I added, oh, let's see, over here I started with the IR cut filter and was just working on an RGB image and kind of cleaned that up along the way, and then at some point split the stars out of that. And so I've got RGB stars in a file, and I've got RGB background in another, and then I end up merging the RGB background and the SHO background into an SHO and RGB background, which kind of looks like, let's see, like that. And then the stars looked like that. And this is actually getting back to the question that you ultimately had, which is how the heck do you merge these things together and get them looking the way you want? There's a couple good tricks. One is let's see, I'm gonna try and execute. Let's see.
Bill, I just posted in the chat what I think is
Yep.
the Adam Block video.
Okay.
You can tell me that's the right one.
Let's see.
There's another one too here.
Yeah, if you can watch Adam Block videos.
Well,
this,
I know
this one's
I
on
know
YouTube.
they're long.
No,
Oh, right.
I think
Yeah,
he's saying with the subscription. This is on YouTube.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if you can stand to watch them.
Yeah, they get long. They get long and very, very detailed.
So many words to say so little. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got good stuff in there, but he uses 20 to 30 words when one would do.
Yeah.
He's very wordy with very little content. His videos.
I usually double the speed of the videos, and then it goes a lot better.
Or less, a 20th of the length of the video, and still get his content across.
Yeah. Both of these videos are 20 minutes long.
Yeah. I would say in the public ones, oftentimes they are kind of a not so veiled attempt to get people to purchase online.
Yeah, that's why he does these.
Content.
That's why
right.
He's trying to get you to buy a subscription.
And so,
but when I watch his YouTube videos, there's no way I'd shell out money for his stuff because the content to just blah is way too low.
Right.
But I know he's got good stuff, and you found valuable stuff from him. But yep. I can't even stand to listen to him. just to put it out there.
All right. Well, and everybody has their style, and I highly recommend going to YouTube and checking out various channels and find somebody that you like and somebody that you trust, because they aren't necessarily the same thing. There's
Oh,
some
yeah,
people
absolutely.
there's some people that will repeat what everybody else has done. Some people will do it better than the original, some will do it worse.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Some people really don't know what they're talking about, and I don't claim to know any more than anybody else, so, count me
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in a subset of
Yeah. I know that
of
Adam
these
Block's
people.
got useful stuff in there. I just can't tolerate him.
You know, um, it I will say that the paid content is better in that they're shorter and to the point. Sometimes they go on and on and on, but it's because he is trying to explain something in enough detail that you actually understand what the concepts are rather than just, where to click. And there is value in that if you can tolerate it, and if you can go through, from the beginning to where you need to be. But um, but there's just tons of stuff out there that's free, and some of it's very good, um, and some is just hard to listen to either because they don't know what they're talking about, or they have mannerisms and and peccadillos that you just can't deal with. There are definitely people that I like and don't like. I'm in the same boat there. All right, so um, I'm gonna. Where was I at? Oh yeah. All right. Let's see. So there's there's a couple star tools that are useful. There's there's star stretch, which is interesting in itself. It doesn't run out of global context, right? Uh, yeah. Honestly, most of the scripts you're probably better off just taking them from the pull down menus because otherwise they just act flaky. Um, so Star Stretch is awesome in that it will take if you've separated your stars out and it's still non-stretched, it's still a linear file. The initial stretch that you get when you get them separated out, it's very hard to get back to that same stretch again because you don't have the background anymore. And so the the screen transfer functions, um, to try and get back to what is normal looking stars can be very challenging because you don't have a background anymore. You just have the stars, so it's very, very, very black. This script is kind of great in that it'll work on linear stars and it will show you a preview. Um, let's see. Um, so let's see. It'll show you a preview, and you can change the stretch amounts and you can change the color boost amounts. And when you're done, you just click execute, and it creates a stretched image, a, a nonlinear image that you can then copy back into your nonlinear stretched image of your background. Um, it works pretty great. So, all right, let's see. Click show preview, and let's see. I need to
Hey
give it the
Phil, where
right
did you get that?
file. This is SETI Astro.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Cranfield.
No, not Mike Cranfield. SETI Astro.
I thought he is.
No, they're different guys.
Oh, okay.
All right. So let's see. Let's see. Got too many files. We'll try this one.
Nick, I put the link in the chat.
Turns out I have it. I just never used it.
I found that when I upgraded my PixInsight last night, I lost most of my repository. So I had to go and re-find all these. That's why I had it in my mind of where these things were.
Mine transferred over seamlessly, except for Orton Glow script was hasn't been updated yet. The guy just did it now, and actually it's working now on my new PixInsight Lockhart.
It's interesting
So
because I didn't get any of my RC Astro, my SETI Astro, and there was another one. Only the basic ones
well,
transferred over.
when you first fire it up, at least on a Mac, after a completely new install like that, as big as this one was, I waited a little bit and then it downloaded everything, installed it all, and it was like I said, being back to normal, except for the Orton Glow script was missing.
And that might have been it. Maybe I didn't wait long enough.
Could be.
Since I have it open, I'll put in the chat my repository in case people are interested. Various processes, scripts.
I think I'm having a hard time because I'm not finding my linear stars. Oh well. In any case.
So Phil, one thing
Yep.
the question I have for you on this is the way I deal with stars in PixInsight is I just put a mask on it.
Yeah.
And I run it all the way up until I could just barely see the last stars.
Uh-huh.
So and then I put that on the image and then I bring it down slightly in curves.
Yep.
And that seems to do a good job. It keeps the colors and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So why would I need this process?
You don't have to deal with masks.
I mean, what's the
anymore.
advantage? That's true, but that's an easy mask. That's like you just run it
Yeah.
up to one thing. You don't have to worry about anything else. So I'm just like trying to understand what this gives me versus curves, I
Well,
guess.
Because
when you said preview, I mean, I
Yep.
see when I use my curves, I see it in real time, like while I'm
Right.
doing it.
Yep. Well, you can do masks. I haven't made a mask in general in ages. I
Really?
do it. Yeah, I do it. I do it for special cases. Like I had a little. I don't remember which one it was anymore, but the main subject was obviously dead center, but there was like a little galaxy kind of in the corner that was really, really faint. And so, by making like a game mask around that object and masking everything else out, I could boost the contrast and curves on that little area. That was, kind of the only way you could do something like that. But
Cool.
but but I don't do star masks anymore. I just delete this. I just remove the stars and then put them back later.
I'm sure there's a reason. I mean, I'm sure there's an advantage to doing it this way. I just haven't.
You can
figured it out.
do noise reduction on the background and not have the stars in the way. Yeah, there's lots of stuff you can.
So the advantage I see is if I forget to do like if I wanted to do let me start that over. So I usually do Star Exterminator after I'm nonlinear, right? So I avoid having to do that because the stars are stretched, as if it was.
You're
stretched.
already stretched.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But if I forget, or if I my stars are, I want to take them from a linear state. They've been exterminated like that. The background's pretty ugly on those if you stretch it too far. So I can see where this is useful. So thanks for showing me that. I didn't know.
No, that's good. That's good point, Nick. I remember, Nick, you showed me how to use those Bill Blanchard icons, process icons and then stretch that. So I always do that before I use Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator. So that's I guess the way that you could get around that, but okay, I understand now what you're saying is that this would
Right.
already
This
have
is like
that
if you forget like to
do it.
like if you wanted to remove the stars and in the linear and yeah, sorry, I'm getting lost in my words here, but yes, I just avoid the whole thing by doing a star exterminator after a stretch because I don't really know why one is better than the other. Honestly, I'm not good enough to tell. You know, it just for me, it's just easier.
Sure. No, yeah, I'll have to try this because I know there's probably some good things in here.
What I am interested in figuring out is, say I want to recombine the stars back into the image, but when I do that, there's so many little ones that like, you know, all that work I did on the nebula separated from the stars, it was kind of like redundant.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I would like to combine the stars back in, but only like the big and colorful ones. You know,
Yep.
Yep.
that's what I
So
am trying to figure out.
I have never been able to figure out how to do that in PixInsight. I do it in Photoshop, and I use that that Starzona toolkit. There's a star killer in there.
Star
That'll
Killer, I do that
yes.
too, and then I find I have to blend it back at least to 75%, or because if you look up really close, it almost starts to. It's like when you do when you over sharpen something a little bit. It's like
Yeah, I get what you're
it's
saying.
like that worm. It gives you a warming. It gives you like a warming effect, like
Yeah.
when you overdo deconvolution or something like that, right?
Yep.
Like that
Yep.
kind of look.
It's too aggressive.
Right. So that's where I'm stuck at, right? Like trying to just have the big, colorful, meaningful stars come back and not the little ones.
I typically don't go
Star Killer.
past. Yeah, I typically don't go past about 40% Star Killer.
Okay.
That's what I do, depending on the target.
I would like to just eliminate them altogether, but then maybe that wouldn't look natural or something. So anyway, that's where I am at with the star recombination. If anybody knows a good way to, like for instance, let me put it this way: if I could do Star Exterminator but set a threshold to like keep these stars but get rid of these stars, that would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, if I didn't have that process in Photoshop, I wouldn't know. I mean, I have not ever seen in PixInsight a good way to manage stars all the way down, like you're saying. Like if you want to get rid of the faintest
Rodrigo
ones.
showed something like that. Remember
But
when we were
that's
on
in
with
Photoshop.
Rodrigo?
But that's in
Right.
Photoshop.
That's what
I'm saying. Without
wanna...
Photoshop,
I have Photoshop. I
because
use
the
them
majority
both,
of people
right?
here don't have photo. No, so do I. It's harder.
Yeah.
But most of the people here only use PixInsight.
No, right. All I'm saying is, I think Ricardo showed
Like
us
I don't
one
think
night.
Phil.
I
Like Phil.
can't remember.
Right. So Phil doesn't have Photoshop, right, Phil?
No.
Yeah. So how would you, Phil? How would you do that? That's really the question.
So I think I've got my file now, so I can show you. Do preview. All right, so I took my RGB everything image, made a stars only image. So that's this one right here. And I opened up Star Stretch. So this is working on linear data. I'm showing a preview, and I can zoom in, however much you want on it. We'll go maybe that much. And then you can change the stretch amount, and you can change the color amount here. So, if you want a lot of, let's see, and then you hit refresh preview. So if you stretch it a lot, you get big stars. If you stretch it a little, you get little stars. And you can tweak this up and down however you want. Right?
Yep.
And if you want to boost the color a lot, you boost it a lot. Make them really colorful.
I think this is exactly what I am looking for.
Yep.
So,
and this is working
awesome.
on linear. This is working on linear data, so you haven't broken anything until you finally tell it to execute. All right, so I think it did it, but the stars are so little that you can't see the color has been boosted like crazy. So we'll refresh again.
So in a sense, this is like what Starkiller does.
Yeah, it's very interactive. You can be working on linear data right up to the bitter end, and then when you're done, you hit execute, and you get this kind of idealized star thing that you're set up for. And all right, so I'm going to close that out because I think we've kind of done that. So then once you've got your stars and your background image the way you want, you go to scripts, and this isn't SETI Astro, it's Screen Stars. And this one is Mike Cranfield. And so we're going to do a star replacement, and you pick the starless view and your stars view, and you create a new image, and so you can see exactly what you're going to get. So let's see. I think that's the stars. That's the. I'm not sure if these are the right files. But got too many files, and I haven't worked in these in a while. Uh,
Phil, while you're doing
Yeah,
that, I
yeah,
noticed you had a lot of Bill Blanch and stuff, who I
yeah.
found too when I was learning. Have you tried his star reduction tools?
Yeah, I was using those before I came upon this this
The
new
screen
one. I think
stars?
yeah, I think this one's better.
Okay.
Yeah, I have used that though. I was
Yeah,
using
that's
that.
what I used. I
Yeah.
really like the
All right.
amount he lets you play around with it.
For God's sake. I'm gonna close this. Let's see. I just need to like make note of which ones. Okay, close that. All right, so that's what I want. That's what I want. Script. Screen start. All right, so the stars view is oh, that one. Starless is no SH George. That one. There we go. All right. Once you find the right files, so there's this file, there's this file and this file, and they're being added together into this file, and it's going to be called this unless I name it something else. And then you just hit the checkbox and it executes. So
Looks nice.
Yeah.
That's a
So
nice tool. Is that free?
yep. Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. The only paid stuff is Blur Exterminator, Noise Exterminator, Star Exterminator, and PixInsight.
Hey,
So yeah.
since it's been like 6 months or more since I've processed anything in PixInsight, how the heck do you take, you've got LRGB, which are all grayscale images. How do you get them combined into one image?
LRGB combination.
Which fails because they're all grayscale. Do you have to color them first?
You
No.
All right.
When you
Something
say it
else is wrong.
fails, Alan, I could probably help you with that offline if you want.
No,
you
it's
know
all right.
the syntax for LRGB combination is definitely backwards from what I would have assumed. You don't put L into L and R into R and G into G. It's you put the L into L and you have an RGB file and you drag and drop the L instance onto the RGB. So
Yeah. That's true.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's
That's probably what he's doing wrong, probably.
yeah.
So what he's saying is,
No, you
let me
can
just say,
still combine color images with LRGB combined.
right.
It says auto. That lies. You have to actually pick your RGB file and then hit
Yep.
apply
You go-
global or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Yeah, you go pick each of the files, and then it LRGB combination. You specifically pick each of the files, and when you run it, it comes back and says LRGB combination cannot be executed on grayscale images.
I
Oh.
don't do the L with that. I just do the RG and B.
Yeah,
You're not
that's the
trying
way
to
I
do
do
the
it.
L with it, right?
That's what I was going to try to say. As I process my L first, then I process my RGB second, and then I merge
Yep.
them to create LRGB.
Yeah.
Yep. So I
It's
unchecked
probably
the
that L
L.
that's messing it
Yeah,
up.
I unchecked the L and just got the RGB.
Yep.
And it says can't process on grayscale images.
Oh, I think yeah, you
He's
might
gotta
have to.
maybe he's going to debayr them.
I think you might have to change. Let's see. Let me check my note.
Why would you debayer them
Luminance.
when they're monochrome
It's not.
images?
It's not. Yeah, it's not bared.
Yeah. Weird.
Show us what you're doing.
Luminance.
Yeah, you want to
I
share?
can't. No, don't worry about it. It's not worth it.
I can try to help you offline if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe later.
Because it's Alan, truly, it's an easy process. It is.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it's probably just something that's checked or something that's causing the problem.
Possibly.
These are my notes, and I haven't used them in a while. But it says insert nonlinear linear file into L and apply it to a nonlinear RGB file. Drag and drop.
Yep. So you do your process on your L, then you do your process on your RGB file, and then you merge them.
Yes, but you have to create the R and then the G and then the B and put those together to do an
No.
RGB.
No, because weighted batch preprocessing creates them. Are you not using weighted batch preprocessing?
I used the weighted batch preprocessing to give me an L, a G, an R, and a B.
Yep.
Okay.
Then you
He's
do.
talking about.
I have 4 grayscale images.
Right.
He's talking about turning his RG and B grayscale images into a color image.
Color. Yeah, I get that.
Right.
But that's pretty
you
easy
use
to do.
LRGB combined to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's failing.
That's one way. That's one way.
So, Alan, I can show you. Let me just show you offline sometime.
Yeah. All right. Otherwise, I'll just go kick them into a different program that can do it much more simply than PixInsight.
No, that's really easy. That is easy to do in PixInsight. Really easy. Like I said, it's probably something that's checked or something.
So we're kind of approaching 9 o'clock. Is there anything that we haven't gotten to that people want to get to? And was this helpful at all?
So some of you guys have been really quiet. So please speak up. What are you guys looking to get out of this?
I think it's been great. I'm super new to it all, so you know, appreciate it, Phil. I think one question I would have would be, since I'm new to it, what, storage management on my PC, this WBPP creates so many files, right?
Yep.
What
Yep.
what do you safely delete every time to keep
Sure.
your hard drive clean?
Sure.
So I just keep my autocrop files and delete all the other stuff. That's all you need is the autocrop files.
That's what I figured. Your auto cropped masters it spits out.
That's all I do.
Okay.
It saves me about 60 gig per project.
I
doing
know.
it that
That's
way.
why I'm asking, because I'm on the verge of having to buy an external hard drive, and
Yeah.
not really trying to do that if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, let's see. I didn't save. Yeah, so honestly, yeah, so honestly, after it runs, I just save the master files that I'm going to work on, which are basically the very last files that it creates. If it's doing drizzled or drizzled files, then they're the very last ones. If you're not doing drizzle, then obviously it isn't going to have drizzle on the last of the files. But basically, just grab whatever those are and save them. Oh, we want to talk about projects at all? Saving projects?
Sure.
Yeah. Um, so back back in the battle days, I'm just gonna close shut. Um, back in the battle days, I would kind of work on these sorts of flows and be saving all these kind of intermediate steps, and I'd literally do a save as and save it to a directory, and so I could come back to them and work on them. Honestly, I save these in the project more as a mental reference of how I got there, and if I wanted to come back to it, it's a little easier to come back to an intermediate step and say, okay, I want to, work at this level, and I'll open this one up and I'll open this one up, and I can kind of take it from there. But you don't really have to. If you do all these processes, and you don't, let's see, the very last file has a history of all the things that have gone on in the file. So let's see. Why don't we try that one? Open History Explorer. So let's see. So it says what its initial state was when it was first saved and all the steps that have happened along the way. So these are the steps that created it. Theoretically, if you save this as a project and you don't save any of the intermediate steps, I don't think it really materially matters. I save them just as an easier shortcut and kind of as a visual shortcut to getting back to things, but you don't really have to do it. What is important though is rather than just working on it and then saving and being done, if you use projects, you can save a project, and you can give it some notes as to where things came from and what you did. You can put however much information you want to in them, and you tell it where you want to save that bundled project, and it'll keep all the settings and everything that went into that file up to that point. And you could theoretically go back and just go through the history explorer and go back to an intermediate step and say, okay, I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to branch off it. I'm going to start in the middle and I'm going to do something different. I'm going to run noise reduction at this step instead of waiting until the last minute, or I'm going to, do some curves transformation in the middle and change the outcome, from that point on. And I would recommend doing that. I recommend making a practice of doing that. The other thing it does is when you save the project, it also saves not only the files, the image files that you've been working on, but it also saves the menus that you're using. So, if you've tweaked the menus and made modifications or added something, or you have kind of a specialized set of of process icons, those are also saved in the project. Now, if you want, and I would recommend saving your icons off in another location so that you kind of have like a master set that you can copy into any project. So you're kind of always working from kind of your best set, if you will. And you can go to that by going to process icons, and you can either save your process icons. If I do that, it's gonna ask me if I want to, like, I could save over my current icons. I can I could select this as the name and save it right over, and it's just going to update the process icons. Um, but I recommend that too. So you have a current set of icons, and if you want to, you can start PixInsight from double clicking on that. If you have a current icon set that you typically use, save it off to a file location or save it on your desktop or something and use that to launch PixInsight. And so instead of launching PixInsight and then having to load the current icons, it'll just open with the current icons. Um, Likewise, if you save a project someplace, you can double click on the project and it'll load the project and it'll load all the icons that are associated with the project. And so it's a quick way of getting into your project and going. The other thing that I've been doing a lot tonight is, let's see, cancel, is you can go to recent, you can say open recent, and you can open recent image files or icon files, text files I don't use, but project files. So, this is everything that I've worked on in the last long time. So I don't have to remember, where in my folders I've saved this, so I could, if I want to, go back to, I don't know, Lagoon Nebula or Cocoon Nebula or Whirlpool, I can just, go right to it and pick up where I left off, or take a look and see, whether I need to clean up or redo something. So I find all those pretty helpful.
Cool. Thanks, Phil.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't used projects, and I haven't figured out a reason to use one.
Um, the the best thing is that it allows all that history to be saved. So you can theoretically go back and rework from that history. And I have to be honest, I mostly know that it exists and mostly don't use it. I mostly am going back to, instead of using the History Explorer, I'm mostly going back to these intermediate steps. If I say, oh, this, these last three steps look like horse shit, I just, delete them or save as or something, and, go back to, wherever it is that I think I screwed up, and, get to that level and say, all right, well, all right, I'm gonna take this one, and maybe I'll make a clone and and try it a different way, and I can either overwrite my ones that I don't like, or I can start a new branch and play around with that. That's what I do. So if this was helpful, does somebody else want to try? If other people have other things that they want to show, or their workflows, would it be useful to have somebody else take a turn at this, or do
Well,
it periodically, or?
I think this is a great Phil. Thank you for doing this. I think everybody agrees that you did awesome tonight. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think, we're in the middle of winter. There's not a whole lot we can do aside from learning. So yeah, do you guys want to do this maybe monthly or every other week, or what do you guys, the topic I'm going to want, Phil, is that LRGB Ha process. If we can figure out something for that,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. That's
Okay.
been killing me for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I'm sure other people will have other projects. As Carter gets more into PixInsight, I'm sure he'll have more ideas for stuff that he wants to do and the like. Nick Johnson, do you have PixInsight now?
I do, but I don't really have a computer. I'm still waiting on mine to get.
That's
back.
right.
All right.
So,
Your computer's like been out 2 months, right?
yeah, fire at my house. So
When,
Oh,
when,
God.
when you get it back?
Oh my God.
no idea. I called them a few weeks ago asking about it, and they haven't gotten back to me. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Is everybody
kinda
okay
tough.
from that fire?
Yeah, just stuff. So
Ugh.
So, Phil, do you mind if I just steal just for a second? Does anybody have to run right now? Can I have like 10 minutes real quick?
Yeah.
Because I have a project open
Okay.
that I can, for Alan's sake, I can just do it right now.
Okay.
Let's see.
I'm going to say stop sharing. All right.
All right.
I might bounce out here in a sec.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just really appreciate it, Phil. The one last thing I will say, I don't know, it sounds like a lot of people don't have any of the Adobe stuff, but man, I am a huge fan of Lightroom.
Oh.
Yeah, you and Nick.
Yeah, I just can't emphasize that enough. After you're done with everything in PixInsight and you spit out your file and you think it's perfect, I've done that with a lot of mine so far and been like, man, that looks really good. I'm proud of that. Then I bring it into Lightroom and just slightly tweak things, and I can't tell you how much it elevates your photo. It's a lot of eye test stuff, right? It doesn't show you the pixel math or anything like PixInsight does, but it really has elevated my photos. So just wanted to mention that.
Well, and Alan is a big fan of Affinity Photo, right?
Yeah, I've used Affinity Photo to do astro images and stuff, and you can get good results there. I'm not particularly great at it, but so far I think I've gotten better results out of Affinity Photo than PixInsight, but that's all cockpit error.
Can
Yeah.
you guys see my screen? Just asking.
I can.
Yep.
Cool. So
Right,
Alan,
I gotta bounce out. Thanks,
Yeah, no worries.
guys.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks,
Yep,
Carter.
you use that box, you select the images that are red, green, and blue. You click the square button to have it run, and it
No, stop.
Click the circle button.
Hit the circle button. And then you stretch it. Or fake stretch it, whatever you call this. And there's your
With
color.
an unlinked stretch.
Unlinked stretch.
You'll
Thanks,
get better
Nick.
colors.
Yes.
unlinked stretch. Okay.
So open up the STF. You have to actually open it up.
Yeah, but you
Control
have to
A
give
is
it the
not going to cut it.
individual
There you
red
go.
image. You have to give it the individual red image, the individual green,
Unlink the chain,
blue.
little.
Yeah, but I think to hit Alan's original issue was he was hitting the square, not the circle.
Right.
Well,
I knew it was
both.
it was gonna be something like that.
I tried both and got the same answer.
Well, I mean, you see here it works, and so just
Hit
hit
the
the
nuclear
circle.
icon now. Hit the
But
nuclear
do you
button
have the
icon.
original grayscale red image?
There you go.
There it is.
Where's the original red grayscale image that's your red filter?
You're not, because when you pull these up, I mean, this is the original right here. So here's your grayscale, but when you put it in here, and you do this, you hit the apply global button. It merges that and brings in the color.
So it merges the grayscale red, the grayscale green, and the grayscale blue.
Right.
Yes.
And I think the
Mine
issue here
failed.
was,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Mine failed. I
and
hit
you
circular
were hitting
button,
the
I hit
square
square
button.
button. I hit them both and it failed. I tried both and that failed. So something else is going on.
Well, I mean, okay.
Uncheck the L. You have to uncheck
Yeah,
the L.
Yeah,
uncheck the
uncheck
L.
the
L
L.
was unchecked. I unchecked the L
Okay.
and
And your
it
files are
failed.
loaded.
Do you want to show us what you're doing?
No, it's on a different computer that I'm using for the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, guys. Am I missing anything here?
Then the wrong files are loaded.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
something like that, Alan.
Yep, because I have the master auto crop, loom, the green, the red, and the blue all open in PixInsight. And I can go to the process LRGB combine.
Yeah, and you have to tell it what the RG and B files are.
And
So
I can go tell it what the RG and B files are. So I can go for the green, I can select the green one. And for the, say, okay.
and don't load in your luminance and don't have your luminance checked.
Right, I won't have the luminance checked.
And then when you get, let me just finish what I was doing here. So then you save it as an RGB. Okay. So I have an RGB file here.
So
And
how
then
do you save it as an RGB?
just save the file. Just literally save as and name it RGB. Okay.
But that means it's got to actually do the conversion first.
Yeah. So once you've
So
put
I
in your
don't
RGB,
have L checked. I have R with the red. I have green with the green and the blue with the blue. I hit the circle button.
and
I've
then you
got
save that
lightness
file.
of 0.5, saturation of 0.5.
You stretch it using the STF and you save it.
So I'm going to hit the red button, the circular button, and it says error, LRGB combination, incompatible.
You have to uncheck. You have to uncheck.
Did you uncheck the L?
L is not checked.
Okay.
Can you share your screen?
So the auto crops
He doesn't
are
have.
not the same size, is what it amounts
That's
to.
got to be what it is.
Yeah, then you're not using the same file dimensions or
You're
the
using the
auto
wrong
crops.
files or something.
And then just to finish the thought, here.
Same size.
So Alan, just to finish the thought here, once you get that done, you have an RGB file, you uncheck these. So all you have checked is L. You put the L in there, and then you use the triangle, and you do that.
Yeah, and drag the L on top. Yeah.
Yep. Where's my?
But yeah, so the
there it is. They say that is
auto
LRGB.
crop, the weighted batch pre-processing didn't crop them all the same.
Yeah, that's got to be it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward process.
Auto crop should have made them all the same size, so I don't understand why that's the case. But
if that's the case, then he's got something going on weighted batch pre-processing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are tick boxes that you could turn off auto crop.
Is it possible you didn't select all 4 auto crop files and you selected 3 of them and not one?
No,
he only needs the 3, just the RG and B ones.
Yeah, but if he didn't pick one of them that was an auto crop, for example.
No, I'd
auto crop them all.
That's what I do too, but maybe he just accidentally grabbed the wrong one.
Or you could manually crop all of them the same. You know, it's
something thereof.
PixInsight is not a super user-friendly.
I mean,
program.
What I've learned with PixInsight is it's a process of iteration. I mean, you do this 5 or 10 times, then you understand what you're doing. But the first couple of times, you're like, "What am I doing with this?"
Yeah.
Like image blend.
Well, I mean, it's been 6 months since I've really used it, and I've done this before, but it wasn't working on this set of images I was looking at.
Well, Alan, I live close by. If you want me to stop over sometime or go to a library or come over here, happy to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are the questions you guys got?
Got to go play with it.
What are the questions you guys got?
Yeah,
I think I'm good. I got a few cool things out of this.
Yeah, and I need to watch the recording because half the
You're-
time I couldn't
You
see
weren't even there
anything.
half the time, and then your wife
could-
was talking over part of it.
In between somebody came in, but
You
I
just
couldn't
have.
see half
You're
the
just like
time.
the party animal, man. You always have somebody
Yeah.
over.
Haha.
All right, guys, we're at 9:15 here. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Should we schedule something for like the second week of January,
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
probably do that. Why don't
like the 12th or 13th? I think the 11th is a Saturday. Want to aim for something on the 13th?
Sure.
is there
Or
a
I'm sorry,
partic-
I'm
I'm sorry.
down.
Or do you guys prefer Sunday night or Monday night, or what do you guys prefer?
Sunday would probably be better in
It
general.
seems like this slot is open for most people, right? 7 to 9 on a Sunday. Like, what are people doing? Just getting ready for the week, right?
Right? Um,
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go
I'm
with
pretty
the
flexible.
12, 11, 12. I'm
does.
sorry, 1:12 at 7 p.m. What do you guys want to talk about? Or do you guys want to think about it and put in the chat?
I'll see if I can research adding H to LRGB as
oh
the
man,
first
Phil,
one.
that's my holy grail right there. Especially with Galaxy's coming up.
You know, it if I find the video that I'm thinking exists, and if it's a good one, I might just drop it in the chat and everybody will say, "Oh, we don't need to do that anymore."
And I mean, image blend might be the key to the whole thing, Phil.
Well, and you could do that. Image blend, you can literally do anything you want. Pick any files, pick any way you want to blend them. You can see what you're doing at the time. It's just trying to stay organized, and I clearly wasn't very organized with those files. I couldn't find what I was looking for to demonstrate it very well, but it works great once you kind of know what your files are that you're operating on.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when I've watched multiple videos on this process, and when I've tried them, I always get a pink color or some goofy color as my output, and I can't figure out how to get away from that. Like, I know that Rodrigo in Photoshop, he does it in layers,
Yeah.
and he merges them, and he's able to cut out that he does get that color as well, but he's able to cut them out in layers, the bad color, to get what he wants.
Yeah.
And I don't understand Photoshop 1% of what he does. So I rather do it in PixInsight if I can. And it's got to be there because these people are doing it, right?
One thing you can always do if the result is mostly what you want, or the intention is there, but you just need to tweak it a little bit, color masks can do a lot. If
With merging like H alpha.
no, say you merged your files and everything, you merge the data that you want, but it just has a color cast to it, and it's like, okay, um, I want to bring red down, or
Right.
green down, or something like that. There are mask tools now. There's the Bill Blanchard ones that are just a drag and drop, and it'll make a grayscale mask that selectively.
You're talking about these.
Ye-
The Bill Blanchard man.
yeah, yellow mask. Yep, yellow mask, cyan mask. Yep. You just drag and drop those, and it creates a mask that will selectively allow or kill that color. And so then you put that on your image and do a curves on it, and tweak it up or down.
Right.
Start killing the red or boosting the red, or.
But adding hydrogen alpha is a little bit different than that, right? I mean, you're right. It's boosting red, but it's really boosting red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I could use a red mask to do that. I normally do this kind of stuff in curves. And then I've got some processes in Photoshop to do it as well. But it doesn't, I mean, it's not doing what I want it to do in terms of HA.
Okay.
And that's what I got to learn how to do. This is the time I've been waiting for 2 years to figure this out. I don't know, Nick, do you have any way of doing it? Is Nick still around?
I don't know. Might just be us.
Yeah, I think he
Oh
left.
no, let's see. Alan's still on. Stick Johnson is still on. Ball's
Other
still on.
Nick. Oh, and he put in the chat. He's got to bounce. That's
Yep.
cool. All right. So you guys cool with January 12th at 7 p.m. Sunday the 12th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good with me.
We'll work on LRGBHA.
Okay.
Unless
Um,
whatever other topics you guys want.
Do you want me to schedule it the same way?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
mind?
No, this works fine.
Because if I do it, I only have 40 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
This is excellent, Phil. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for
Yep.
putting in the effort and
Thanks,
all
Phil.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Have a great
Phil,
Christmas.
can you check how you can share this recording?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Gotta figure
I
that out.
will. I'll see what I can do. It has theoretically been recorded, but
2
Yeah,
hours
I'm
and
not
20
sure.
minutes.
Typically,
I'm
it will
not
be in
sure.
the chat, in this Teams chat. Yeah, and then you may have to change the permissions so that we
Right.
can see it.
So Phil, if you go under more and go back
All
under
right.
video effects and settings, it should be there to turn this off, to turn off the recording, and then
No, yeah, recording will turn off when you go back. It should, when you end the call, it will automatically end the recording and it will show up in your chat for this
Okay.
meeting. It'll be
Okay.
in your My Teams meeting. Then you
Okay.
may have to, you know, typically it will be, since we are all external to
Yep.
you, sometime you have to change permissions and say anybody who has this link can see it.
Okay.
and do you think it's worthwhile for me to create a free YouTube page and we just post it on there for you guys? Is that worth it? I've never done it, but it can't be that hard. Once you
Right.
once you send me the link, Phil, can I just post it on YouTube for free?
I guess. I don't know. I've never done that.
I mean, the other options I throw it in my share drive and give you guys access to that folder.
Right. I don't know. Well, I guess the first thing will be to see whether I actually have a video file that I can share, and then
Okay.
we'll see what we can do with it after that.
Well,
Yeah,
it sounds like Bala's your expert, so if you have questions, maybe
All right.
Bala can help you.
I can try my best.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care. Appreciate it, Phil.
Yep.